the ocean has always been a place of mystery. Across the world, countless stories have been whispered about strange shadows that walk the shoreline, about voices that rise with the waves, and about the dead who refuse to leave the places they once called home. In India, one particular beach has earned a reputation so chilling that even locals refuse to step on its sands after the sun goes down. A place where the living and the dead are said to share the same ground, where the wind itself seems to whisper warnings, where people walk into the night and never return. That place is Dumas Beach, in the state of Gujarat, near the bustling city of Surat. By day, it looks innocent enough families visit. Children play, couples stroll along the shore, vendors sell snacks, and the salty Arabian Sea breeze feels almost relaxing. But as the sun sinks into the horizon and darkness swallows the coastline, this beach takes on a different personality altogether, a darker, more sinister one. Those who live nearby know better. They warn tourists, do not stay after sunset. Because once night falls, the beach belongs not to the living, but to the dead. To understand why Dumas Beach is considered one of the most haunted places in India, we must first look into its history, a history soaked in death and ashes. For centuries, this very stretch of sand was used as a Hindu cremation ground. Families brought the bodies of their loved ones here, placed them on wooden pyres, and set them aflame according to sacred rituals. The smoke from thousands upon thousands of cremations rose into the night sky. The ashes of countless souls were scattered into the sea. Even today, if you dig just a little beneath the surface of the sand, you'll find remnants of this, past fragments of bone, specks of ash. The beach itself is a graveyard, not marked with stones or crosses, but with centuries of fire and sorrow. Locals believe the black color of the sand is not natural. They say it has absorbed the remains of those who were cremated there, while geologists argue that the dark shade comes from volcanic minerals mixed with the white sand. The people who grew up in Surat tell a different story. This beach is black because it is filled with death. And where there is death, there are spirits. In Hindu beliefs, the cremation ritual is not just about disposing of the body. It is about releasing the soul, helping it move on from the earthly realm into the next stage of existence. But what happens when something interrupts that process? According to spiritual leaders, souls that are troubled, restless, or unwilling to leave may linger in the place where their bodies were burned. Some remain attached to unfinished business. Some are bound by the grief of those they left behind. And some, it is said, are simply trapped, stuck between this world and the next. Dumas Beach, with its long history as a cremation site, is believed to be crowded with such souls, invisible to the eye, but present nonetheless. And at night, when the living world quiets down, these spirits are said to walk the shoreline, whispering to one another, and to anyone foolish enough to remain. If there is one phenomenon that has given Dumas Beach its reputation, it is the whispers. People who have walked along the beach at night tell eerily similar stories. They describe hearing voices, soft, faint, and almost indistinguishable at first. At times, it sounds like the wind is carrying fragments of conversation. But as they listen closely, the whispers grow sharper, clearer. Some hear their names being called. Others hear words in languages they don't understand. And in the most chilling accounts, the whispers don't just float in the air. They come from right behind you, even when no one is there. There are countless reports of people turning around, expecting to see a friend or a stranger standing nearby, only to find themselves completely alone. What makes this even more terrifying is the warning that often accompanies the whispers. Witnesses claim they hear phrases like, "Don't go forward," or "Turn back." And those who ignored the warning, according to local legend, never returned to tell their story. The Arabian Sea is powerful, and it's true that dangerous currents have taken many lives along India's coastline. But at Dumas, the number of mysterious deaths and disappearances has raised questions that science struggles to answer. Locals tell stories of men and women who ventured onto the beach at night and were never seen again. Some of their bodies washed up days later, but with no clear cause of death. No signs of drowning, no marks of violence, just lifeless forms, their faces frozen in terror, as if they had seen something unspeakable in their final moments. In other cases, the missing were never found at all. Families waited, searched, prayed, but the sea never returned their loved ones. These unexplained vanishings fueled the legend that the souls of the cremated do not welcome intruders. The whispers, the shadows, the strange pull of the night. They say it is all the work of spirits who claim the beach as their own. Even today, police in Surat treat the beach with caution. They warn people against late-night visits, and taxi drivers flat out refuse to take passengers there after dark. When asked why, they give simple answers. Because people don't come back. One of the most unsettling features of Dumas Beach is not just what humans experience, but how animals react to it, especially dogs. Stray dogs often gather near the beach, and their behavior becomes erratic after nightfall. Visitors have described entire groups of dogs suddenly barking and growling at empty stretches of sand, their fur standing on end, their eyes fixed on something invisible. Sometimes they whine and retreat, as though frightened. Other times, they chase shadows no human can see. In Indian tradition, dogs are believed to have a heightened sense of the supernatural. They are seen as protectors, capable of detecting spirits and energies that remain hidden to the human eye. At Dumas, their behavior only deepens the fear. If the dogs can sense something there, what exactly are they seeing? Imagine standing on the beach at night. The fog is thick, and you can barely see 10 feet ahead. Then you hear a pack of dogs howling, their cries echoing through the darkness. You follow their gaze, your heart pounding. You see nothing. But deep inside, you know they are watching something that you cannot. For the people of Surat, Dumas Beach is not just a geographical location. It is a place of power, of fear, and of deep respect. Many avoid it completely after dark, not out of superstition, but out of survival. Elders pass down warnings to the younger generation. Do not walk the sands at night. Do not answer when you hear a voice. And if you feel someone behind you, do not turn around. Vendors who sell snacks during the day close their stalls before dusk. Fishermen who sail from nearby jetties avoid casting their nets too close to the shore after sunset. And even those who are skeptical of ghosts admit that something feels wrong at Dumas Beach once the light disappears. It is as if the air itself changes. The warmth of the day vanishes, replaced by a heavy chill. The sound of the waves grows sharper, almost hostile, and every instinct inside you screams the same thing: leave. What makes Dumas Beach truly terrifying is not just the stories, but the atmosphere. The sand is darker than most beaches, almost black in places. The wind is strong, carrying with it the salty smell of the sea, mixed with something harder to describe, something burnt, something ancient. The waves crash with an unsettling rhythm, like whispers rising and falling in the distance. Fog rolls in from the water at night, blanketing the beach in white, cutting off visibility, and turning familiar shapes into menacing shadows. Every sound is amplified: a footstep, a distant bark, the rustle of the wind. And in that atmosphere, it is easy to believe you are not alone. But if history laid the foundation of Dumas Beach's dark reputation, the true horror begins with the legends whispered by locals, stories that have spread far beyond Surat, reaching travelers, paranormal enthusiasts, and journalists worldwide. One of the most persistent legends of Dumas Beach is that people go missing here, swallowed by the night, and never returning. Locals claim that those who dared to stroll along the beach after midnight were never seen again. No bodies, no footprints leading away, just gone. Some whisper that the restless spirits of those cremated here lure the living into the waves, their voices mimicking familiar loved ones, calling out softly until the victim walks willingly into the sea. Even today, if you ask fishermen of Dumas, many will tell you, at night, we do not hear the sea, we hear the dead. Many who visit the beach after dark report something chilling. Soft whispers carried by the wind. Not voices of crowds, not the sound of waves, but whispers that seem to form broken words, sometimes even in languages the listener doesn't understand. A group of travelers from Mumbai once described hearing their names called out, faintly, as if someone familiar was standing just behind them. But when they turned, there was no one there. Scientists might argue it's just the sound of the ocean breeze weaving through the sand dunes. But the people of Surat insist. Those whispers belong to the souls trapped in the sands of Dumas. Another terrifying story revolves around the stray dogs that roam Dumas Beach. Dogs, as you know, are often considered more sensitive to the paranormal. Visitors have reported dogs barking violently at thin air, growling at the open horizon, or refusing to move further into certain stretches of the beach. Some even claim to have seen entire packs howling together in the middle of the night, as though warning the living of unseen danger. One chilling tale describes a tourist trying to walk deep into the beach at night. A stray dog followed him, barking furiously, even trying to pull at his clothes. Annoyed, the man ignored the dog. Moments later, he swore he felt a cold hand grab his ankle. He screamed, spun around, but saw nothing. Only the barking dog. He fled, convinced the animal had just saved his life. Stranger still are the reports of phantom fires. Some locals say that even years after cremation stopped taking place here, flames are sometimes spotted burning faintly along the sands. Flickers of orange and red, glowing for a few seconds before vanishing. For some, it's a terrifying reminder of the souls tied to this land. For others, it is proof that the rituals of the dead never truly ended, that some invisible pyres still burn beneath the surface of Dumas Beach. Adding to its eerie aura is the black sand of Dumas. Unlike most beaches, which are golden or white, Dumas is covered in dark grains, almost ash-like in texture. Geologists explain it as the result of volcanic rock and high iron content. But locals believe the truth is much darker, that this sand has absorbed the ashes of countless bodies burned here, that every step you take on this beach is a step over the remains of the dead. For believers, this explains why Dumas is cursed. They say, the sand is not sand, it is death. Now, skeptics will tell you these are just stories, exaggerated by superstition. They'll argue that whispers are just the wind, that missing tourists were pulled away by strong currents, that black sand is a natural phenomenon. But then, how do you explain the stories that come from those who have no reason to lie? The police officers who've been called in to search for missing people, The journalists who traveled to Dumas for a story, only to return shaken. The paranormal investigators who recorded voices where no human was present. In the end, Dumas Beach stands as the kind of place where science and superstition clash head-on, and neither side can fully explain the truth. Because whatever logic says, when you stand on that beach in the dead of night, the fear is real. And it only gets darker from here. Dumas Beach has not just a reputation, it has a history of witnesses who swear they've encountered the unexplainable. Some are locals, some are tourists, some are trained paranormal investigators. And their stories share one common theme. Something on Dumas Beach does not want to be disturbed. A professional photographer, drawn by the natural beauty of the beach at sunset, decided to stay late to capture the moonlight on the waves. He set up his tripod and camera, clicking picture after picture as darkness descended. When he later developed the photos, he was horrified. In several frames where he had been completely alone, faint human-like figures appeared in the fog behind him. The outlines were blurry, almost like smoke, but unmistakably humanoid. He swore he had not seen a soul on the beach that night. The figures weren't moving like ordinary people. They appeared stagnant, yet watching, almost as if aware of the camera. The photographer never returned to Dumas, and the images were later shared with paranormal research groups, becoming some of the most convincing photographic evidence of the supernatural at Dumas Beach. Skeptics sometimes come to Dumas Beach, thinking the stories are exaggerated. One group of college students made the mistake of staying after sunset, joking about ghosts and telling each other not to be scared. As the night grew darker, one of them started hearing his name called faintly, like a whisper carried on the wind. He ignored it, assuming it was one of his friends. But then another friend vanished, literally disappeared into the fog, only to reappear minutes later with a pale face, unable to speak. They later reported seeing shadowy figures moving just at the edge of their vision, always following, always disappearing when they turned to face them. The students left, shaken, their laughter gone and replaced by silence. Dumas Beach has attracted numerous paranormal investigation teams, both Indian and international. Using equipment like EMF meters, EVP recorders, thermal cameras, and night vision cameras, they have documented some of the beach's most inexplicable phenomena. Even in the absence of electrical sources, EMF, electromagnetic field readings, often spike unpredictably along the sands. In several investigations, these spikes coincided with reported sightings of shadows or whispers. Investigators suggest that some energy or presence may be interacting with the devices, although no scientific explanation has been confirmed. Electronic voice phenomena, EVP recordings, have captured whispers, faint cries, and even clear words like "go back" or "leave." Many of these recordings were later analyzed to rule out natural sounds like waves or wind, yet the messages remained inexplicable. Footage captured on night vision cameras shows strange movements. Faint human-like shapes emerge from the mist, sometimes pausing as if observing the camera, then fading into nothing. In one report, a glowing orb floated along the shoreline for several minutes, only to vanish without a trace. For residents of Surat and surrounding villages, encounters at Dumas Beach are far more personal. One fisherman told investigators that he often sees a woman in white wandering the shoreline at night, staring at the horizon. She disappears when approached, leaving behind a sudden chill in the air and the faint scent of incense, a smell associated with cremation rituals. Another local described hearing footsteps following him in the sand, even though he was walking alone. He said could feel a presence pressing against him, an invisible hand brushing his shoulder. These reports are repeated across generations, each slightly different, but all leaving the witness traumatized and hesitant to return. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of Dumas Beach is the number of visitors who have vanished. Reports compiled over decades tell of people walking late at night, never seen again. Some bodies wash ashore later, face frozen in terror, clothing soaked, yet no indication of struggle. Others remain missing, leaving families and authorities with only questions. This raises a question: are the currents of the Arabian Sea solely responsible? Or is there something else pulling people into the darkness, something that walks the beach after sunset, unseen, but very real? A couple reported seeing a dark, humanoid figure moving alongside them while walking near the waterline. When they stopped, it stopped. When they ran, it followed at a distance until they finally reached the edge of the beach. A journalist recording interviews with locals heard whispers in the audio playback conversations that no one had spoken, in languages she didn't understand. Multiple visitors describe sudden drops in temperature, localized to a few meters around them. One researcher suggested it was wind patterns, but witnesses insist the air felt heavy, almost malevolent. What's most striking is the consistency of reports. Different people, decades apart, report similar phenomena: whispers, shadows, sudden chills, and sightings of figures in white. Even skeptics who come to disprove the legends often leave unnerved. This consistency gives Dumas Beach a chilling credibility. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the accounts cannot simply be dismissed as coincidence. Dumas Beach has fascinated and terrified people for decades. But can the strange occurrences be explained? Or is there something beyond science at play? Skeptics and researchers have attempted to rationalize the phenomena. Many of the whispers reported by visitors could be caused by acoustic illusions. The beach's unique geography with dunes, cliffs, and waves can bend and echo sound in ways that make wind and water resemble human voices. This phenomenon, known as acoustic mirages, has been documented in other haunted locations worldwide. Some scientists propose that the decomposition of organic matter under the sand may release gases like methane or hydrogen sulfide. These gases can induce dizziness, hallucinations, and feelings of panic, which could explain why some visitors feel watched or hear voices that aren't there. The Arabian Sea is home to strong currents, especially at night. Tourists who have gone missing may have been swept away by these unpredictable waves. While this explains some disappearances, it does not account for those who vanish on dry sand, or for consistent sightings of figures and orbs. Science may attempt to explain the beach's mysteries, but in local culture and spiritual belief, Dumas Beach is a liminal space, a boundary between life and death. In Hinduism, the soul is believed to linger if the cremation rituals are incomplete or if a person dies unnaturally. Dumas Beach, being a centuries-old cremation ground, is thought to be inhabited by such restless spirits who wander the shoreline at night, unable to move on. Some locals perform small rituals before visiting the beach after sunset, offering prayers or sprinkling sacred water to ward off spirits. Even believers agree. These rituals may not make the spirits vanish, but they provide a sense of protection against whatever lingers in the sands. Dogs, considered sensitive to spiritual energy, act as guardians. Their barking, growling, or sudden retreats are interpreted by locals as warnings of unseen presences, a living indicator that the supernatural may be near. What makes Dumas Beach especially terrifying is its atmosphere. At night, the air grows heavy, Fog rolls in from the sea, and the black sands seem to swallow sound. Every wave, every gust of wind, every rustle of the dunes becomes amplified. Shadows move in ways that seem deliberate. Visitors often describe a sense of being watched, even when completely alone. The stories of the vanished, the whispers, the shadowy figures, they all combine to create a visceral fear that lingers long after leaving the beach. To give you a real sense of the terror, a solo traveler once stayed on the beach past midnight. He described a sudden, bone-chilling cold and saw a silhouette of a woman in white moving toward him across the sand. She vanished the moment he tried to approach. A group of students reported hearing footsteps following them along the shoreline, even though they were walking in a straight line. When they turned, the footsteps stopped, but the uneasy feeling of being watched persisted. Paranormal investigators have captured orbs of light floating across the foggy sands, along with faint EVP recordings of whispers saying, "Go back, leave, do not stay." So what is Dumas Beach truly? Is it a place haunted by restless spirits, trapped for centuries between life and death? Or is it a unique confluence of natural phenomena, geography, and human psychology, giving rise to tales of horror that seem all too real? The answer may never be fully known. What we do know is that the beach has a power that cannot be ignored, a presence that demands respect, fear, and caution. If you ever find yourself in Gujarat and visit Dumas Beach, remember, the sun sets quickly, and darkness changes everything. Avoid walking alone after nightfall. Listen carefully to the whispers, but never respond. Respect the sands. They are more than just land. They are history. They are death. For centuries, Dumas Beach has claimed the curious, unnerved the brave, and inspired legends that refuse to die. Its sands are black with the past, and its waves carry the echoes of those who came before. The beach is beautiful, yes, but also deadly. Peaceful by day, haunted by night. And when the fog drifts in and the wind carries voices, it is not a place for the living to linger. Dumas Beach is a reminder that some places in the world are more than they seem. Even if you do not believe in spirits, there is something undeniably unsettling about walking along a beach where the dead were cremated for centuries. Something about the whispers, the black sand, the cold chill that lingers in your mind long after you leave. So, the next time you hear a story about Dumas Beach, ask yourself, would you walk its sands alone after dark? Would you answer the whispers in the wind? Or would you heed the warnings that locals have passed down for generations and leave before it's too late? Because sometimes the scariest things are the ones you cannot see. So, friends, if you liked this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.